Hey guys, so as promised, I'm coming in because I did a poll earlier in the week. I think it was earlier in the week, yeah. And I was asking what you guys need. And so it's very important to me to be able to kill the myths that keep people from getting their books done in a powerful way and with ease. And so I was asking what it is that you guys need from me, and it was three different things. One was about outlining, one was about writing fast, and one was about leveraging a book after it's done. And there was an overwhelming response to two things in particular. So I was like, well, I'm not going to pick one. I'm going to combine it. Hey, Colleen, I'm going to combine it and tackle it all. So what we'll be talking about today, and I encourage you guys to ask me questions, all of that, because I want to support you and I want you to understand that it's not an accident, it's not a mistake that you have this desire inside you to write your book. Like, it's not a fluke, it's not going to go away. It's your calling. It's just letting you know that, hey, you have this superpower inside and it's been dormant long enough. So today, what we're going to do is really talk about what I call super outlining, and what that is and why it enables you to write tons of words with ease. And I know you might be saying, well, I want to write more than 20,000 words, or I might want to write less. My point, that's a number, it's a random number. Well, not really random, because several of my clients in the first week, they're at 15,000, 25,000 words. But it's because of what happens with the super outlining process, right? So as you guys come in, say, hey, let me know you're there. Um, this is not a lecture. This is me genuinely wanting to interact with you. So please ask me questions. If something seems unclear to you, or you've got something that's kind of more specific to you and what you're writing, then let's talk about that. What I'm going to do is invite some people. So I want to make sure everyone sees this. Yeah. So here we go. So outlining is not a new concept to any of us. At any given point in our elementary, middle school, high school, college, you have an understanding of what outlining is. My speakers in here, you have an outline for your talk, your signature talk, or your speech, or if you're doing a keynote, you've got an outline. And all an outline does is help you to organize your thoughts in what you consider to be a rational way, and in a way that takes your audience, for a book, your reader, from point A to point Z with ease, and not a lot of confusion, so they can follow the story and everything like that, right? So it's really designed to help you organize your thoughts. If you're sitting down to write a book, and as you guys come in, say, hey, let me know you're there. When you're sitting down to write a book, there's so many thoughts that go through your head. People say, I'm just so unorganized. That's not true. Well, it may be true, but the thing about writing a book, you commit to inviting your creative space, your creative mind into the conversation. And it can be a little ADHD, right? It could be like, oh, I want to talk about this. I want to write this. I want to do this. I want to do that. What if we did this? Oh, that'd be awesome. That's just your creativity. Creativity is just that. It's not, you can't put it into a box. So don't try. That's where your frustration comes in. But traditionally, outlining, it's a bunch of Roman numerals, some subsections, some bullet points, and all of that. You might get real deep and get off into alphabets and all of that, right? And that's good, but it's rigid and it's one-sided more often than not, meaning this is everything you want to talk about, right? So here's what I want to show you. When I teach my clients what I call super outlining, it's twofold. So you'll do the traditional, the more comfortable manner of outlining and you'll put out those bullet points. Well, so we'll use me for an example. So first, I want to talk about what it is that you are good at, right? And I want you to really dig into what you're good at. Then after that, I want to talk about how you apply what you're good at to helping and serving other people, and so on and so forth, right? So those are things I want to talk about. Those are things I want to highlight. Traditional outlining. Here's where the super part comes in. After we do an outline, a simple outline, what I'll have my clients do is go back, like change hats, go back and look at that outline, and from a novice, from a reader perspective, ask questions. And so the first thing I said is, what is it that you're good at? So if that's the first bit of my traditional outline, then shifting to the reader's side, or putting on the reader hat, what are some questions around that? How did you get these skills? Were you born with them? Is it something that you learned? Did you take a class? Is this something you can teach other people to do effectively? Have you taught other people to do it? See how those questions flow? That would be me, the reader. So we then list those questions out under those bullet points or sections from that traditional outline. Because remember, you can go back and look at any content that I put out and shared in here. My philosophy is that a book is a conversation. So if you're outlining a one-sided conversation, it's very possible you're going to miss the opportunity to connect with readers. And I want to grab my phone because I don't know, Facebook has done something funny to where we don't see comments when we go live. So I want to make sure I'm not missing anything you guys are putting out there. Okay, here we go. Good. So let me say it again because I really want it to sink in with you. So the traditional side, the more of the bullet points, I'm going to say this first, or Roman numeral I, whatever, whatever works for you, right? I'm clearly a rebel, so my bullet points, I would make my own, and there would be little stars and little hearts, and they'd be like, "That, come on, you can't do that, not for this assignment, back in school." So you would lay out everything that you want to speak about, lay out everything that you want to teach, you want to pour out, and then switch seats, switch hats, switch modes, and go into reader mode and ask questions about each one of those. I would say push for 5, max at 10 or 20, right? Because let those questions flow for each one of those points. So if you had 30 sections that you want to talk about and you come up with questions, and you get up into 20 questions that people would have, or that you have had about those topics, hey Lakeisha, or that you have had about those topics, something happens. There's a shift. Your brain is one of the first computers ever designed, right? And just like with regular computers, and if I have some programmers in here, don't ding me for this, but computers operate based off queries. It's simple to us. It's some gooey stuff on the front, it looks shiny. It's a button here, but what happens on the back end is a command goes out. There's characters that mean certain things, and the query gets the computer to working. And now it's putting that logic together to bring back the answer to your query. That's computer stuff. We're built the same way. And so when you incorporate these questions into your outlining, supercharging it, your brain immediately begins to start working to answer those questions. And so writing becomes much easier because you're not trying to figure out what to say. You have already put on the hat of your reader, and you're making sure that any gaps between where you are as the expert and where they are filled. Right? I hope that's making sense. If you're watching this on the replay, talk to me, let me know. If you're here live, ask me questions, let me know if it doesn't quite make sense. And the reason that this works so well is because more often than not, we all succumb to that fantasy, that romanticized version of writing where you silo off and you're in deep thought, and it's torture, and you're writing the great American novel and it's hard. and all of this, but that's never been attractive to me. Like, I work, but I'm not for struggle. It's just not my thing. Like, I'm not with it. Um, my husband will be like, let's go do something in the yard. I'm like, how about I see your suggestion, but I make lemonade and you go work in the yard? And he's like, okay, because I'm not with it. That's just not my thing. Not making anything hard, not doing that. So when it comes to super outlining, it's twofold. It's what you want to pour out, and then questions that your reader, your potential clients, for my business owners in here, or even people that you're speaking to, if you're speaking from or teaching from a stage, could ask you about that statement, about that theory, about that philosophy that you have established and shared in your book. Okay. This is amazing. I mean, it works. I am not kidding. I'm not making it up. Like I said, trusting this computer to do what it does. When someone asks a question, and if there are any, I think it's called NLP, neurologic something, pathologies, pathways, I don't know. They talk about this and how when you are affirming and writing affirmations and you're trying to manifest things, that you write it in the form of a question, because your brain then begins to figure out how to make that thing come true. So, and I do this in my journaling, full disclosure. I'll say, like, how did I get on the show with Oprah? Like, how did that happen? So now my brain is like, working to figure that thing out. And so when opportunities are brought to me, it could very well be the path to get to that. And that's my woo-woo insert for the day. So again, I want to just talk about, I know you guys are thinking this is going to be deep. It's not. It's so easy because you've got this. You have to be able to go from pouring out to asking the questions that people, and you get the questions all the time. You've got to make that shift so that you can ask those questions necessary so you know what to answer in your book. It's just that simple. And to be clear, this is specific to nonfiction. I have a lot of nonfiction writers in here, and I know I have a couple of fiction writers sprinkled in, but my nonfiction book writers, this is very important also, because for those of you who are sharing parts of your life, you're sharing life journey, you're sharing challenging situations that you've gone through, it also reminds you in your writing to not just be journaling. And I've said that before in other trainings that I've done. People say, I want to write a book about my life. And I'm like, not to discourage them, but I'm like, okay, and what else? What else are you doing with this book? Because if you're just giving a play-by-play of some situation that you've gone through in your life, that's a journal, right? It's a tell-all. I don't do tell-alls. But if you're wanting someone to really benefit from what you've already learned, what you've already overcome, what you've already succeeded at, then this super outlining method is what you need. And because it not only allows you to tell the bits and pieces of the story, but it brings it back around to the reader. Whatever the situation was, whether it was, how did I get through my doctoral program while running a business and having 2 kids and a husband? That's my life. And instead of giving just a play-by-play, I can ask questions like, why did you even, some of the questions that might be in my outline is, why did you even decide to go back to school? Was it necessary? Did you need it for your business? How did your family feel? How, if they didn't encourage you, would you still do it? Look at how those questions flow. Like, that's just a fictitious book I was thinking of, I thought of. So those questions flow and allow me to have a conversation with my reader. That's so important. It's so important for you to have a conversation and not just lecture or wag your finger or preach at people in your books, because that's not connection. People get that all the time. People telling them what they should do, could do, ought to do, should have done, all, however you want to fix it and fashion it. People get that all the time. When they get your book in hand, they've gotten it for a reason. They're wanting a particular result, and it's your responsibility to help them do that. And so by outlining and considering the questions that they would have, you do that. You show up not just as an authority who's been through it, but you also show up as an authority that they can trust because you're guiding them on a path. Okay? Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay? So then, once you've done this super outlining, and don't suppress it. I'm not going to tell you a traditional outline means you have at least 10 chapters. However it has to go, as long as you get your reader from point A to point Z, and they don't fall off in the middle and they're confused about what their next steps are. If you can do it in 5 chapters, do it in 5 chapters. If you can do it in 20 chapters, do it in 20 chapters. Don't mandate that you've got to do a certain amount of words. Don't mandate that you've got to have a certain amount of chapters in your outline, because then it's robotic. You're not operating in your gifting and your expertise and your genius. You're doing it like a book report. Remember book reports, they would say, 5 pages, double space, blah, 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 not including the title page. Don't do your book like that. It's not the same thing. That's academic or scholarly thinking. Remember, you're doing transformational or conversational writing. It's different. It's very different. Okay. So after you've done the super outlining, that's when we shift into what I call filling in the blanks, right? And the reason that this works is because you have those questions infused. You have a guide about how the conversation is going. It's a roadmap. It's a back and forth, because you're able to shift and say, okay, I want to talk about this. People could ask me questions like this. And when I say fill in the blank, that's all you're doing. You're writing to fill in those spaces, to answer those questions in a way that's conversational. Before you know it, you look up. Think about how many, I might actually transcribe this video. We're at 17 minutes right now. And I'm gonna transcribe this video and see how many words I've spoken. Because when you go into conversational writing, there's a flow that happens, and you are able to write just as many words as you speak in a conversation. That's why it works. That's why my authors flourish when we do this, because they shift out of the rigidness of I have to write a bestseller into it's a bestseller because you had a conversation with readers. Okay, so start filling in the blanks and putting the puzzle pieces together. One of my main things I recommend is you get a nice clean Word doc. If you use Apple products, I don't know, Sheets, whatever it's called, you get a nice clean Word doc, and you tackle one section in that document. Save it off, move on to the next. You can write out of order. It's okay. It's okay. Nobody said once you write chapter 1, you got to write chapter 2. You might get called to chapter 12. However it goes, you just write to fill in the blanks and answer those questions to the fullest. Leave it all out on the paper, on the page. Unless you're writing by hand, then leave it out on the paper. Okay? Because once you get out all of those thoughts and you answer all of those questions, then you can organize it and make sure that it truly takes the reader from here to here. That doesn't mean edit. When you're in write mode, don't edit. So now you've outlined, you've started writing to fill in the blanks and answer those questions and put the puzzle pieces together, because the goal is to get out all of your thought, all of your message. Do not edit in write mode. When you start editing in write mode, your word count goes backwards, period. If you don't think that's true, look at what you've done before when you write and edit, or try to write and edit at the same time. You'll start out with 1,000 words, and before you know it, you've cut it down to 500. The counter's going the wrong way, right? You edit once you get all of the talent out, once you get all of the message out. Okay. I hope that makes sense. I'm not seeing any comments, but like I said, if you come back on the replay, let me know you came back on the replay. Do #replay. Ask your questions so that I can come in and answer them. I truly want to support you. I cannot believe it's already the 4th quarter of 2018. And I know just yesterday was January. It just seems like we just came into this year. And I know several of you have goals to get your books done. I know that because you wouldn't be here otherwise. So start here. Start here. Supercharge your outline. Make it consider you as the teacher and the reader, and then start filling in the blanks. Okay? And then start filling in the blanks. Okay? It's not as hard as people make it out to be. It doesn't have to be. You've already acquired the knowledge and the whatever it is that has made you an expert, whether that was falling down 7 times and having to get up and figuring it out, right? I'm so glad it's helpful, guys. I really am. Like, that's my goal. I want to just kill the myth that it's hard to write. It's not. We write Facebook posts all day, every day. And we trust for just a minute, we trust that what we're saying is awesome and we put it out there. But when it comes to writing our book, we're like, oh, this isn't good enough. It's not perfect. Oh, it's not perfect. Oh, and we get thrown off. And so try this. As a matter of fact, I want you guys to try it. And then come live in the group or post in the group. Tag me. Let me know how it worked. Let me know what was different. Let me know if there was something that shifted for you. I would love that, because I want to be able to hold you accountable and say, okay, we talked about this on the 6th of September. Where's your book? Is it written? By the time we get to December, okay? I'm not going to hold you guys any longer. Like I said, a very simple tweak that can change things for you. And if you come back on the replay, drop in #replay, ask me your questions, and feel free to share in the group once you've tried this, or if you're nervous about trying it, let me know. All right, guys, talk to you later.